This is the first video as far as actually putting content on your 3D playground. And the couple of the real biggest things, the biggest objects you're probably going to have on this are going to be your towers. And so I think that's a good place to start. And one of the towers you're going to have is what we call post and beam, which means that it's some type of platform sitting atop some type of post. Okay. So I've got a blank playground to work with. I've gotten rid of everything else on my screen. And I'm going to go here. One thing I should say is if you look down here at this UCS icon, as you guys start putting content on, this right here might kind of wind up somewhere else. And that would bug me like a whole bunch. So if that's the case, if you start putting like a tower and a slide and all those things here, and you want to anchor this UCS icon, you type in the word UCS, and you'll see the second hit you get on the pop-up menu is UCS icon. And if you click right here, or you just hit letter N spacebar, or if you click no origin, it will fly that UCS on your screen. Mine was already docked, but it'll fly it down here, and that's going to keep it anchored down in the bottom left, and that's helpful to me. Okay, so I'm going to go up to a top view on layers. I've created several, and so I'm going to kind of just use these posts as posts, and I'm going to use platforms as platforms and things like that, or floor. I would call that a floor. But first things first is you kind of want to figure out, I would not start drawing just at a random point. You do want to have a little, and that's up to you. But I'm thinking to myself, well, if this is a perimeter of a playground, I probably don't want, you don't know what's around here. It might be walkways that are around here or something else, or even a fence. So what I would want to do is probably have my tower some kind of way offset down in this area. Okay. So I'm going to build one that's a rectangle, and we'll just go from there. So the way I'm going to do this, I have 4 individual lines that are making up that 75 foot by 75 foot square. Offset and trim, you'll find out, don't work in a 3D view, but they work just fine in a 2D view from the top. So in this case, I'm going to go 60, not 60 feet, but 60 inches. And that's going to give me 5 feet of space right around the corner of this, okay? And now I got to think to myself, well, how big is this tower going to be? So let's say I wanted it to be, I don't know, 16, and I can type an apostrophe, and that's going to give me 16 feet wide this way. Maybe I want it a little bigger, offset. I got plenty of room to work with, so I'll say 20 feet. Maybe on this front to back, I'm going to say 10 feet. All right, so in this rectangle, I have a 20 foot by 10 foot space. And now I'm just going to trim all this stuff out because I don't need it. All right, so this is not my tower yet. This is like marking out just like you would if you were building a deck or a patio or something else. It's just marking out locations on the ground. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down and I'm going to grab my post layer, okay? And I am going to draw a circular post right at these corners. So I'm thinking to myself, well, I want my post to probably be diameter maybe of 6 inches. That should work fine. And I'm going to go ahead and copy it to each one of these corner points. Okay, so right now I just have a circle. But we're going to extrude it, meaning we're going to stretch it into 3D space. Okay, and now this I am going to join because I am going to use this as a template for the platform. So I'm going to go offset and I'm going to use 6 again. Okay, so that's cool. That works just fine. And now I might want this to stay as individual lines again. So I'm going to come click down here and I would like to use the explode button. And that way I could manipulate these or use them for other reference points as I need to. Okay. This right here, we're going to go put on the platform layer or floor, I guess we could call it. All right, so I've done everything I need to, and now I'm going to go up to top and I'm going to go to Southwest Isometric. Okay, so I've this is again just like with building a deck or a pergola or a little covered porch or something else. You've staked out all of these locations. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is, now when I extrude something, okay, so remember, extruding is stretching an object into 3D space. Okay, now you'll notice right here I just clicked extrude, and see I am on the same layer, right? Because I turned my post layer on. But if I go and extrude this, it's going to extrude it in blue. It's going to put it on that post layer. So extrude is always going to match the layer that you're set up to draw on right here, which I think is kind of annoying. I wish it would just like accept that I'm extruding this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my 4 circles. Now I could have done this all in one shot, or I could have just extruded one post and then gone and dropped it on these other locations, but whichever way you like better. Okay, so I click extrude, and you can see I can stretch these up into space. And now I got to think to myself about, maybe how tall would I want this? And you got to think realistically about a playground. It doesn't have to be a standard height everywhere, but it's probably not going to be 40 feet, at least on posts, right? Maybe some kind of playhouse would be. So I'm going to type in 96, and that's 8 feet high, and that works good. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this and I'm going to move it. Now, it might be easier. So I guess, again, let me just show you what I was talking about right here. I'm just going to go ahead and erase those. So I could have just done the extrude with 1. But what I'm going to change right here is, rather than going up 96, I'm assuming that I want the floor of my tower to be 96 inches above the ground. Okay, which means that the post, doesn't go through the floor. So I would actually want to bring that up. I'm going to make the thickness of my floor like 3 inches. So I'm going to bring my post up 3 inches less than 96. So I'll type in 93. Now this is the alternative. Like I said, if you didn't want to extrude 4 things all at the same time, you can just copy it from that center point and just move it around and drop it like you want to in whatever places you want to. Okay, so I will leave this on the ground. I leave as much, these construction lines, I leave them hanging around just because I might need them again at some point. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use move. Okay, and when you move something, you have to pick exact base points. This is really important in 3D. So I'm going to pick that center point, and I can't just randomly put this around. I'm going to go ahead. I can type in a distance. I could say I want to move it up 93, but you see that green polar line, that guideline is on, and I want to make sure that's on. Okay, so I could type in 93, boom. Okay, and this is where you might orbit and double check yourself. Is that lined up? It sure does look like it is. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click extrude again. And remember what I said before, it's extruding on the layer that you're currently set on. Okay, so if I wanted to make sure, if I want to, not have to go ahead and change it afterwards, I can extrude it right here like this, and I'll say 3, enter. Now I'm going to go to a realistic view. If you don't like realistic, you could try hidden, or you could try shaded. Some people like that. Some people like shaded with edges, because you can see it like defines those edges for you a little bit. That can be handy. I usually just use realistic and shaded, but now I have a tower sitting 8 feet above the ground. Okay, very, very straightforward at this point. So the next thing I'm probably going to do is come back and build a ladder on this, and that would be a good way to to practice the next tool that I want to show you, because we use it constantly, which is right up here in the Modify tab, and it's 3D Rotate. All right.